lot of people go broke trying to look rich, and there's 5 major areas where they go broke trying to look rich. Number 1, the cars. Number 2, the jewelry. Number 3, the watches. They're different. Okay, I know some people think that watches are jewelry, jewelry is watches, but they're different, okay? Number 4, eating out and drinking, right? It's kind of like lifestyle, I would say, but there's 2 major breakdowns and segments of that. That's the eating out at nice restaurants and also the drinking. And then last but not least is number 5, rent. So let me just blaze through this real fast. The cars are liabilities 99.9% of the time. Most people don't know how to use cars to their benefit. There are ways that you can make money with cars, and I'm not just talking about renting them out or having, an agency where you use the cars as like modeling shoots and stuff like that. That's a traditional cash flow method. There's other ways that you can make money with cars, but most of the times, for the majority of people, cars make you broke. People buy cars that are way out of their budget. They have extreme monthly payments. It's just not good. The financing itself, the math is very, very dangerous for you. See, you got to look at car dealerships and see where they're making money and why they get excited to sell you a car. If you're financing with them, they're always like, yeah, let's do it. Always, they're happy. But if you get your own financing, they're not happy. Why is that? It's because they're making money from the finance itself. So you have to be very well aware that when you're buying a car, you're not necessarily even just paying a little bit over on the commissionable end for the car salesman to make money in terms of what the car was acquired for and what the car is selling for. You're making a lot. You're paying a lot of money with the financing itself over a period of time, over the course of typically 5 years. So cars are typically not good. They're not smart financial decisions. While I do recommend financing certain things out if you have investments, which is what I do, I always finance things as much as I can because I want my cash working for me actively instead of just throwing a lump sum down, because I make more money off my investments than I do on the negative interest that I get from financing things. So that's why it makes sense. But the majority of people don't have that. The majority of people are just financing vehicles and they have no investments and they're just losing money there. So cashing out on cars is smart if you are investing your money. However, cashing out on cars is dumb if you have investments, which anybody that has a large sum of cash should be in investments. So realistically, cashing out only makes sense when you're using it for a tax write-off on certain vehicles like I just did with the G63. But with that being said, cars are typically bad investments. Number 2, let's talk about jewelry. People think I got a lot of expensive jewelry on. I have some, but it's really not as crazy as you think. These 2 chains are my father's chains, okay? They're not even mine. They were my dad's. They were handed down. This Apple Watch, it's an Apple Watch, okay? It's not a Patek Philippe. I'm entering that range where I can go and splurge a little bit of money on a watch, but at the same time, it still is an expensive thing for me. I'm being very honest with you guys. So I don't want to blow $100,000, $200,000, even $20,000 on a watch. This is not as expensive as you think. It's a gold band Apple Watch. Do the math. It ain't that crazy. And then tennis bracelet. These aren't that expensive, okay? These are not that crazy. People buy tens of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry, and they do it, and it's just not smart. Sometimes I have rings on. Those are also family rings as well. Those are also my father's and my mother's that have been handed down to me. So, those rings are family. We're Indian. We have a lot of gold in our family. It's not something that we're constantly, I'm cashing out on this. I'm not really in the jewelry store like that. And if I do buy jewelry, I'm buying it raw and getting it made in India. I'm Indian. I'm biased. India is the best place to get jewelry. You could look it up yourself, but to be honest, I don't want to come off and say that because it looks like I'm so, Indian pro-Indian, but at the same time, look, it is what it is. So number 3, watches. Okay, I kind of bled into that a little bit. Watches are actually beneficial in certain aspects. When I go to a nice party in Miami, I see a lot of people with nice watches, and they're a conversation starter. And if you're in those rooms with the high-level people, it's a great networking mechanism. But if you're not in those rooms and you're not doing business at that level, there is no reason you need to have a watch like that. There is no reason you need to be walking around with the Rolex unless you are doing quick transactions for millions of dollars. I'm just keeping it real. People that have money will appreciate your watch, but how many people on a day-to-day basis are you interacting with that really, really, really have money like that? If you're in that zone where you're networking with high-level people, it makes sense. I'm in a few networking groups and events that it's invite only. You got to be making a certain amount of money to get in, and having a watch like that makes sense because every single guy in that room has a watch like that. They got crazy $100,000, $200,000 watches, and I'm the sucker that doesn't have that. I'm also one of the younger guys, so they're more forgiving. But seriously, it's not wise to get a watch to flex for your college friends, to look cool in front of your coworkers, to get women. Dumbest reason you could get watches, to get women. Watches are really appreciated by men. Women don't typically know what type of watch you have on. They just see how nice it looks and if it's gold. So a lot of women give me compliments on my Apple Watch. They think it's baller. They think it's cool. And they don't realize it's not the craziest watch out there. It's not that expensive. But to me, this is functional because, dude, it tracks my heart rate. It tells my time. It has my message in there. Like, this is the fucking best watch you could possibly get. I'm not comparing Apple to Android, but seriously, this is a lot of information. So for me, this makes sense that you might see me one day with the nicer watch. I'm just starting to enter that category, and I'm starting to enter those conversations and networks with high-level people where a watch does matter. But for the majority of you, it does not matter. Number 4, let's talk about your lifestyle. Most people just eat out too much. They don't eat at home. Like, eat at home. It's healthier. You know what's going in your food. Learn to cook. Meal prep your food. It's just better for you overall. And honestly, drinking, I personally think you should just cut out drinking as much as possible. Even if there's free alcohol, it's not good for you. Now, I sound like a killjoy here, but drink when it makes sense. Drink when there's a certain occasion that is like so good that you need to be socially lubricated to fit in the conversation. You don't need to drink all the time. If you're going to hang out with your buddies, why the fuck are you drinking? If you're going to hang out with just people in your city, drinking is not necessary. You don't need to do it. But if it's a situation where there's a lot of high-level people, you want to make it more socially, you want to be more socially relevant to take a shot with somebody. Like, look, it might make sense. Drink to network. Drink to benefit your life. Don't drink to have fun. Dumbest thing you can do. Now, another thing I'll say here is when you combine the both, drinking and eating out, shit gets expensive real fast. Bro, like, eating out today, taking somebody on a date is like $300 or $400. Like, seriously, it is. And you might be like, Sumi, what kind of dates are you going on? There's a lot of restaurants that are cheaper. Okay, yes, there are restaurants that are cheaper, but I'm talking about driving there, picking somebody up, taking the time out of your day, then going to the restaurant, the cost of the bill itself, the time commitment to the entire situation, the emotional commitment. I would bill it at over $500, seriously, like at a minimum. Even if the bill's $100, the time you take off, the emotional commitment, everything, you got to learn to really know what your time is worth. And so it costs you guys a lot more money than you think. So eating out and drinking and all that stuff, you got to be really calculated with it. Now, I'm in business where I eat out quite a bit. I eat out with people that work for me because we're traveling a lot, and that's different. It's a business expense. And it makes sense for me because the income is somewhat there. But even me, I like to eat at home. It's not financially smart. The food is not as healthy. The food is not as good. I love chefing it up in the kitchen. Eating at home is the best thing ever. And I recommend everybody do that unless you're making some serious, serious money. And last but not least, rent. I'm not saying to buy a house. That's even expensive in itself, but live below your means. You probably don't need as much space as you really think you do. The places I live are very large. And to be honest, sometimes I don't need that much space, and even I can be better at this. Now, at the same time, I like to have people over my house. I like to travel. I like to throw certain events, and so I do utilize my space, so it makes sense at a certain point. But for the majority of the time, just me living, if I wasn't in event planning, if I wasn't running the social media profiles and everything like that, it would not make sense to have a place as big. I really am only in my bedroom at night to sleep. I'm in my office to work at a very small area of my desk, which the rest of the room is not used, and the kitchen, obviously, to cook and eat. Outside of that, I'm not using bedroom number 2, the den for most of the space it has, the rest of my bedroom and the closet space I have there. There's multiple closets here. There's a whole laundry room here that doesn't have anything on the top level of it. And just a lot of this open space behind me, I really don't use it as much as you think. Because I really don't use it as much as you think for my living day-to-day lifestyle. Most of you guys, you might complain that your apartment's too small, but how much time are you really spending in all the areas of your house? Really ask yourself this. And then the day, if you're in the space of business where you're planning things at home, you have people over. I got my spaces because I wanted to have a lot of people over. I wanted to entertain in the comfort of my home. I'm okay with people being here and doing things and utilizing the kitchen and using my space more so as a recreational area. So for me, it made sense. But most of you guys just spend too much money on rent. You get fancy apartments. You splurge on things that you don't necessarily need. And I'm all for, right, living above your means and looking nice and living that luxury lifestyle to motivate yourself. But seriously, if you got to look at a car, look at an apartment, look at a view to motivate yourself, you're not going to win in life. Because there's someone that wakes up every day and looks at a terrible neighborhood, a shitty wall, and they motivate themselves by saying, I got to get out of here. That's the best kind of motivation, where you've got to make enough money to live and just not worry about bills. If you are worried about bills, cut back on your spending. And I think that's a lot of us. I hate to say it. Everybody in the world is worried about their bills, and the best way to relieve that financial constraint, cut back on your spending, because a lot of people go broke trying to look rich. Appreciate you guys for spending some time here with me. Definitely follow me on all platforms. Hit that link down below if you ever want to work with me one-on-one in coaching. And until next time, guys, Sumi out.